Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Welcome into First Pitch, WagerTalk's premier MLB betting show for Wednesday, May 19th. I'm Drew Martin, your host, joined by mid-major Matt, sportsmemo.com, and Tony Finn of WagerTalk.com. Guys, we're breaking down 4 games on tonight's MLB slate. We got a best bet and an Asian baseball quick pick as well. First up here, Tony Finn from WagerTalk.com. Tony, always fun to have you on, man, and good analysis. So welcome into the show, buddy.
Thank you. It's been a good week so far. I always look forward to the show. Always look forward to disagreeing with you and Matt, so let's get at it.
Yeah, there'll be some disagreement, hopefully a little confrontation, but sometimes confrontation is good for content on the show. And feel free to join us here live in the chat box with what you're looking to bet and who you agree with here on the show. All is welcome. Last, certainly not least, Matt Josephs at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. Matt, welcome in, buddy.
I'm doing well, Drew. I guess I have to be nice to you now until my Phillies beat your Marlins again tonight. But we'll get into that, I'm sure. But it's funny. I've started to dip into a new market today, the last couple of days. I'm starting to do 3-inning bets. There's a couple of sports books out there that have 3-inning bets and certain pitchers who are really good the first time through the lineup. And so far, 2-0 in those. So looking forward to talking about that as well.
Some new betting markets are coming alive in baseball. 3-inning bets, seen 7-inning bets. Of course, we got 5 and full game bets. Some strikeout props as well, which I know we will hit in best bets with Matt Josephs. But guys, first game up here, happy hour special. We got the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds, 6:40 Eastern first pitch. Looks to be 80 degrees in the Queen City here, Matt. Wade Miley and Kevin Gausman on the hill, seeing San Francisco Giants minus 118, minus 120 favorites here. Not a lot of movement sidewise in this one, Matt. Seeing a total of 8 or 8.5, depending where you're shopping. You interested in getting involved with the Giants and Reds tonight, Matt Josephs?
Well, Kevin Gausman's been really good this year, although he did have a rough outing against the Reds at home back on April 13th, gave up 5 earned runs in 6 innings. But he's been talking about guys who go through the order first time. Batters are hitting .093 the first time every time they've seen him so far this season. So he starts out of the gate really fast. Wade Miley, second time he's seen the Giants, and he's pitched really well. A couple of guys that if you do DFS to a target, Buster Posey's 11 for 28 with a homer against Wade Miley. Mike Moustakas, 5 of 13 with 2 homers against Kevin Gausman. The one thing I'll point out here is we've talked about in the past how much the Reds strike out as a lineup. Well, this month they're actually striking out only 19.2% of the time. So Kevin Gausman not an automatic over in this matchup. Meanwhile, Wade Miley going up against the Giants, who are striking out nearly 28% of the time this month. So he's got a low number here. Some lefties have had success against the Giants. Some have not. Might be a number worth looking at. Wade Miley over 4.5 strikeouts.
You know, Tony, looking at this handicap, Kevin Gausman, the way I like to go at starting pitchers is recency, how they're doing most recently, and also the last time they faced the current lineup that they'll be facing tonight in the Reds. And sure enough, it's kind of a discrepancy here with Gausman. Last time he faced the Reds, 6 innings, 5 earned runs. He gave up 2 home runs, some line drives in that. But 1 or 0 earned runs given up in his last 5 starts. So I'm kind of really questioning which Gausman we're going to get tonight. I mean, current form, Gausman's been good. What Matt just touched on here, Tony. What are you thinking? I mean, Wade Miley, on the other hand, he's an interesting handicap. You know, just throwing a no-hitter 2 times ago and then going to Colorado and getting bombed. Which Wade Miley are we going to get is another question here, Tony. Interested in your thought on this game.
If you want to just listen, I don't go back a real long ways as far as today's work. Now, obviously, history plays a big part in handicapping, in my handicapping as well. In this situation, if you want to just weigh the 2 pitchers as far as consistency recently, then Gausman is overwhelmingly the choice. I mean, he's really kind of resurrected his career in the COVID, the 2020 campaign. And his last start, really, he was the better pitcher. They weren't the better offense, and he went. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he went about career high 12 strikeouts and a shutout into the ninth inning. They still lose. That's what you're going to get with San Francisco. Periodically, you're going to get an offense that looks kind of stagnant. They're getting healthier. They returned Yaz. He's been good since he's came off the IL. And Gausman tonight against the Reds team, I have a hard time. I have a hard time fading a 1.84 ERA, not a 10 K to 9, 2 walks per 9. That's really, listen, there is some regression, I think, due. He has an 86% strand rate, which has suppressed his ERA, as well as a 2.21 BIP. But Miley is inconsistent. He did throw the no-hitter, but then we've seen guys like Miley every once in a while. They get the right umpire, they got the right stuff, they got the right lineup, and they throw a no-hitter. If you're pitching against a Seattle team or a Cleveland team, those offensively challenged groups, I think your chances increase a little bit tonight. Listen, it's Gausman. It's all Gausman for me tonight, and I think the price in this I think you're going to see it climb a little bit more tonight, even though they're in Cincy. And a hitter-friendly park, and the Reds may have the better power in this matchup. But I'm on Gausman.
All right, liking Gausman and the Giants. I lean with you as well, Tony, but I haven't fired away on that one as of yet. Going to the 7 o'clock hour here. And first, shout out to the chat box. We got Abby in the house, Jessica as well, and Matt saying he's all over Baltimore today. Means is a Cy Young candidate, and that's the game we're actually getting into now. So we got the Tampa Bay Rays and the Baltimore Orioles. Next game up here, Tony. 80 degrees projected in Baltimore, 7:10 Eastern first pitch here. We're getting the Rays throwing Ryan Yarbrough, the lefty, versus John Means, also the lefty. Battle of Southpaws here. Tightly contested game here, Tony. We're seeing Baltimore minus 115, total of 8. Yarbrough, 4.20 ERA. Thought you would like that one, Tony, but going up against Means, I'm looking towards Baltimore. What do you think in the Finster?
Then we're contrary here. I'm not necessarily contrary. I mean, if I'm going to have a lean, I'm going to go Tampa Bay, despite the fact that they have been horrendous against left-handed pitching. And in truth, they haven't been that good offensively, period. However, now don't get me wrong, I like Means. Means, and another guy, 2 games in a row, we've discussed guys that have pitched no-hitters this year, right? Who Means pitched his no-hitter against, and who Miley pitched his no-hitter against. I wouldn't consider them juggernauts offensively. So let's get to the point. They're in Tampa Bay. They're in Baltimore. It is nice and warm. It's going to be hitter-friendly supposedly tonight, but there's not much wind. In that situation, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. The one thing we don't know with Yarbrough is he going to go 3 innings? Is he going to go 1 inning? Last outing he pitched 1 inning only, and not necessarily an opener role, but it means I like him. I trust Tampa Bay offensively more than I trust Baltimore, despite the fact that Baltimore's best numbers come against right-handed pitching as well. Excuse me, they come against left-handed pitching as opposed to right-handed pitching, and Yarbrough being thrown from the left side. I would lean Tampa Bay here. I don't have an interest in this game. Don't have any of my hard-earned money on it, but I would be opposite you, Drew, and would be leaning Tampa Bay and under the total in this 8.5. Actually, 8.5 penny right now.
Okay, and Matt, Yarbrough, 4 of his last 5 appearances has actually been as a reliever. Now he's back as a starter. That's kind of an interesting handicap in itself. But Means, man, he's been lights out. 15 strikeouts, no walks, just 6 hits. That includes the no-hitter 2 times out against Seattle, Matt. I like Means in Baltimore here. What are you thinking, Matt?
So the one thing that'll benefit Baltimore is that Yarbrough actually is worse as a starter than he is as a reliever. Batters are hitting 323 against him as a starter, 194 as a reliever. I'm guessing tonight he's going the full allotment of starting pitchers. Here's the type of game that if you are going to take this and you really like Yarbrough and you really like Means, you probably look at the first 5 under, because if you don't know how long Yarbrough is going to go, then you kind of want to make sure you get him, because Tampa Bay's bullpen is okay. But once again, we don't know who would follow him afterwards, who the second guy would be. I feel like Yarbrough is going to go as long as he can tonight. The other thing is on the Means side, Tampa Bay is 31.9% K rate against left-handed pitchers, 29.5% this month. So the Rays are striking out nearly 30% of the time overall. Means his number's a little high, and of course he's only gone over this number 7.5 a couple of times this season. I had the under for him against the Mets because the Mets didn't strike out as much against lefties. I had the over against Seattle because Seattle does strike out a lot against lefties. And you look at some of the lefties that the Rays have seen lately. David Peterson had 9. Montgomery had 9 for the Yankees. Quintana, who's not a strikeout pitcher, had 9 in a short amount of time against this team as well. So to me, you're going to look and you're going to try and isolate Means, who had 12 strikeouts against the Rays last year at home. So to me, this is a first 5-inning bet, whether you like the Orioles money line as to back Means, or you like some sort of under because you think Yarbrough is going to do his part. But to me, I'm looking at first 5 because of the uncertainty of how the innings will go later on in this matchup.
All right, guys, we got 2 more games, Asian baseball. Quick pick from Tokyo, Brandon, in the best bets at the end. Next game up here, going to the AL East, staying in the AL East here. The Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays playing down in the state of Florida. We're seeing 84 degrees, 7:35 start here, Matt. Boston throwing Garrett Richards, and Toronto going with Stripling on the hill, minus $1.25 here. That's the Blue Jays as the home team, 9.5 or 10. Now we're seeing 10.5 as the total here, mostly 10s across the board. What are you thinking for the Red Sox and Blue Jays tonight, Matt?
Well, having just watched the Phillies play in Dunedin, there's the weird sight lines and things like that when it comes to the games like this. And the one thing that will be interesting, the reason why I would think it would go the other way. There's about 18-mile-an-hour winds blowing in Dunedin. Now, of course, that may not happen all game long, but you would think that with winds blowing in that much in a minor league ballpark, that would not necessarily be conducive to an over here. A couple of statistics of note. Now, look, I know Richards has been better as of late. He did not pitch well against Toronto, had 6 walks in just over 4 innings back in April. Hitters the first time seeing him are hitting .303 the first time through the lineup. And then you look at Stripling coming off of a decent outing himself. The hitters are hitting .391 the first time they've seen him. So this would potentially be one of those situations where maybe you want to look at a first 3 because you know that both of these guys struggled the first time through the lineup. I know Richards has been playing better, and I know Toronto's lineup is full of swing and miss type of guys, but maybe you want to take a shot that these guys find some success against 2 pitchers that are not very good early on in their starts.
Yeah, Matt. And Tony, coming to you here, I kind of read that wrong at the first. Looking at the Wager Talk odds screen here, it opened 10.5 talking about the total, went down to 10. Now we're seeing 9.5. So to Matt's point, yeah, that wind coming in from left center at projected 18 to 20 miles per hour having an effect on this total. Tony, how much do you think that has an effect here in a minor league ballpark? And also your thoughts here of Red Sox and Jays.
As far as the wind goes, the park, as far as the park factor for this minor league park, I think so far it's shown that it's going to be a significant percentage more hitter friendly than it is going to be pitch friendly. I think that's a given. We thought it'd be a given last year in Buffalo when Toronto was playing up there for their home games too. But I really don't have an opinion on that because I don't have enough sample size to make a definitive push as far as across the counter goes on a total, because I would hesitate playing the under. Much of what Matt just described in this game, and these two Boston's they've slumped a little after starting red hot with a bat, much like the Reds. But I like Boston here. In truth, mostly because I like Richards. Richards is one of my favorite kind of pitchers. He's either pitching really good or he's hurt. And we pretty much know when he's hurt, and he's been hurt quite a bit in his career. Last 3 starts, like you said, Drew, fantastic. Stripling, he was the best he's since arriving at the AL since 2020. That last start of his, after allowing those 2 early runs, okay, he seemed to find his pivot point, his arm angle, all the things I thought he'd been missing, and after 2 quick runs, he shut down the Braves the rest of the way, striking out 9 over 5 innings in an 8-4 win in hitter-friendly Atlanta. So this is a game that has a lot of listen, it's a hit and miss as far as I'm concerned. I stepped away from this game as soon as I saw the pitchers, as soon as I saw where they're playing, and I stayed away. But if I had a lean, it would be over. But that doesn't really fit the conditions that you guys just described.
Tony, this AL East matchup, it is number 1 and number 2 in the AL East. We got big markets here, Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, New York, 1 through 4, all within 1.5 games of each other right now. Also, all 4 double-digit run differential to the positive here. Tony, if you had to pick today, who do you think wins the AL East?
The Yankees.
You do? Okay, Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I just think pitching is going to go so far. Unless I'm completely wrong, I still think we're much more dead ball than they were last year, 19. But pitching's only going to take you so far. And I'm a firm believer this Yankees lineup will. They've recovered from a bad April, really an early bad April, and they're the type of club, if any club in the AL East, that offensively can go a stretch of 2 weeks and just be pound the ball, and during those 2 weeks separate themselves from a division that I think is competitive, and there's some parity there. But if I had to lean, and you're asking me, the Yankees, absolutely.
Matt, any strong opinion here? Who wins the AL East?
I would say I lean to the Rays. I mean, I'll take the starting pitching and the good enough hitting. I mean, obviously their hitting is really it's hot and cold. I mean, when it's cold, it's ridiculously terrible. But when they're hot and you can combine that with the pitching and the solid managing, I'll lean to the Rays here. I think that the Yankees don't have enough starters. Now, the big caveat is, will they make a trade come trade deadline time? And will all those big bats stay healthy? Will Aaron Judge stay healthy? Will Giancarlo Stanton stay healthy? And I don't think that's the case either. So I'll take the tortoise of the two, between the tortoise and the hare, and say the slow and steady wins the race as opposed to the flashy hare.
Nice. All right. I'd probably throw out the Toronto Blue Jays. Like that lineup. I think we get a good mix of pitching and hitting there with the Jays, plus the bullpen as well, which the Yankees and the Jays, heck, even the Rays, all have pretty good bullpens there. So, guys, we got the nightcap. Up next, we got Houston Astros, Oakland A's as we're heading out to the AL West here. Talk about winds. Wind is going to be a factor here, 20 miles an hour out towards center field here. 9:40 Eastern, 6:40 Pacific first pitch, 57 degrees here. Tony, we got Houston going with Zach Greinke and Oakland going with Frankie Montes. 8.5 being the total, minus 115 is what we're seeing the Astros at now. Tony, any interest in getting involved with the Stros and A's late night action?
No, I'm not interested tonight. I'll make a few comments. I was on Houston last night, and I led throughout that game for the most part. Oakland chipped away. In fact, Houston really, they were the better club last night, but they just didn't get the big hit as we've experienced many times in our tout careers. And I don't know what the line was, but at one point in time, I think they had 4 runs on 14 hits. So while Oakland had 3 runs on 5 hits. In the end, Oakland got the win, 6-5. Houston doesn't have the best bullpen. They don't have the best bullpen. They haven't been horrendous as they were last year, I thought, in my opinion. But for the most part, I trust Greinke in this situation. There are some caveats tonight. You mentioned it. There's some conditions. The umpire crew in this series was interesting. But for the most part, Houston has done a good job against this Oakland lineup. And if there's one guy that can overcome his age, lack of velocity from his prime, and outthink and outpitch the opposing arm and the opposing manager, it's Zach Greinke. I'll take Greinke.
Yeah, Greinke, fascinating himself, the ageless one, talking about Zach Greinke here. Matt, what are you thinking here, Stros and A's?
I mean, I had the over yesterday. It seemed like a misprint considering how poor Manaea and Javier have been both this month, and considering the Astros have scored 4 runs or more in 12 straight games. So I was very happy to get an 8, and of course it ended up going over because the bullpens kept giving up runs. I hate being involved in Greinke games. I really do, because Greinke is he's so weird. You know, whether he's telling people what's coming or he's just so moody that I feel like it's just, at times I feel like he's bored. And like him and Trevor Bauer are 2 guys. Now, Bauer's buckled down more because he's on the Dodgers and because, he wants to win with the Dodgers. But I feel like I don't know what kind of Greinke I'm getting. A couple of guys on Oakland have really good numbers against Greinke. Elvis Andrus is 10-27. Ramon Laureano, 6-11 with a home run. Greinke, the first time through the order, a 273 batting average. The second time, 274 batting average. And then you look at Montes. Montes probably has the better stuff between the two of them. The question is, does he know where it's actually going? You look at Montes, first time through the order, 185 batting average. Second time is 338. So maybe you want to take advantage of a first 3 type of situation or a first 5 with Oakland because you know, or at least you think Montes is going to get through this order once, and then he's going to struggle the second time through. So you're just trying to isolate the best numbers you possibly can. But usually I hate getting involved in Greinke games because I have no idea which Greinke's going to show up.
Yeah, I get it, Matt. I mean, what we saw, like we're seeing in the chat box here, 51-mile-an-hour pitch. That's what Schmidt's saying, talking about Greinke. You're saying he's throwing it out there. It's kind of fun to watch, but I'm with you. I haven't read him right this season at all, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a veteran and he does it so well when he wants to. And obviously this is a matchup between 2 division rivals and it's a road game and maybe he gets hyped for a road game more than a home game. But I don't want to try and figure this out. It's hard enough when I'm trying to guess college kids for college football and college basketball. I don't want to try and figure out Greinke in a game, game 40 or whatever of a 162 game season.
Yeah, I mean, we get Greinke, Montes. Montez kind of been up and down himself. We're getting a total of 8.5 with 20 miles an hour wind out towards center field. I know it's West Coast at night, but I like the over here, guys. Both lineups against righties, top 10. The bullpens got work last night. I like this one towards the over if you need a bet in the late night action. We got best bets coming up. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody being live today. Jessica, Abby, Jim in the house, Amster 420, Abel as well. Ty, always here. We appreciate you joining us live, guys. If you could please smash the like button. If you're liking the content, it does help us out. And if you're watching on replay, that's always fine. Feel free to leave a comment below. Best bets right around the corner. But first, going to throw it over to the other side of the world. Tokyo Brandon with the Asian baseball quick pick. Tokyo Brandon, take it away.
Thanks, Drew. Tokyo Brandon here. Wow, yesterday I got absolutely crushed. Today we're going to try to get back on track and rectify that. The Nippon Ham Fighters travel to play the Rakuten Eagles. Rakuten is starting a pitcher named Takinaka. He had one game this season where he got exploded for 10 runs in one inning. If you take that game away, he actually has pretty good numbers, where Ikeda, who is the starter for Nippon Ham, not so good. Ikeda's whip this season is 1.30, and he's 0-2 against Rakuten. Whereas Takinaka, he has not been stellar against Nippon Ham, but his whip is 1.11, despite the 10-run explosion earlier in the season. We're going to take the Rakuten Eagles on the money line. That's all for today. Thanks, guys.
Rakuten Eagles on the money line for Tokyo Brandon. Thank you for that. Guys, best bet time. I'll start us off here going to the NL East. Miami Marlins, Philadelphia Phillies. I'm going with the underdog on the fish here. That is the Miami Marlins. Trevor Rogers on the hill. One of my favorite pitchers to bet. He's got a 1.84 ERA. 57 strikeouts, only 17 walks on the season. Combine that with the fact the Phillies below average versus lefties. I think he has a good game. And Eflin on the other side, 5 earned runs his last time out. He got touched up. I think the Fish can put up enough. It's not a great offense here, but the plus 120 price tag, risk 100 to win 120 on the Marlins is my best bet. We got Tony Finn here, WagerTalk.com. Tony, where are you going for best bets tonight, buddy?
Well, I'll take a flyer here tonight. I don't think it's a flyer. I think it's one of the better dog prices on the board, and it's contrary to surface numbers for certain, and it's Skubal for Detroit, and he's facing a young kid for Seattle who came off his career debut, for basically his debut in the major leagues at the mothership for Seattle, and there's a lot of interesting subplots in this game. Skubal actually plays college ball in Seattle, and there was times when he could afford to. At least that's what his comments were in an interview I listened to. Go watch Seattle play some baseball in that big spacious park with the giant sliding roof, et cetera, and to go from where he was at that point in time as a senior for Seattle to now, which is pitching in this live as a major leaguer for a major league team, is going to test his emotions, I think, a little bit, although I like him. Listen, it's a hard sell. I know you got Skubal. He's 0-6, 5.73 ERA, 1.58 whip in 33 innings. And his xFIP isn't even as good as his ERA. However, this Seattle right now, both of these lineups are historically bad offensively, and if I'm gonna, even though Detroit's facing a kid they haven't seen, the price on this Gilbert versus Skubal, it's just wrong, and the value lies on the Tigers. The Tigers may not light the scoreboard up, you guys, but getting $140. Last time I looked, it was $138, $142 right in that area. I haven't looked right now, but this is a game Detroit's capable of winning, and this is a game where Skubal probably, he's throwing the ball hard. If he gets the calls from the umpire, who's pitcher friendly, then you're going to see this 0-6 go to a 1-6, and you're going to catch a nice price. I like Detroit as the dog tonight, late in Seattle.
All right, liking Detroit for Tony Finn. And last here is Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. Check him out at sportsmemo.com. Matt, where are we going for best bets tonight?
Strikeout prop for me, 10 games above 500 in strikeout props so far this season. Got an afternoon one that's coming up. It's in the Rockies game if you want to head over to my Sports Memo page. But for tonight, my free play is David Peterson over 5.5 strikeouts. Quite simply, the Braves are struggling right now. 27.8% K rate against lefties, 27.3% K rate this month. Last year in 12 innings, he had 18 strikeouts against Atlanta. He's gone over this number 3 times, took advantage of Tampa Bay. Last time out, had 9 strikeouts in Tampa Bay. And you look at some of the lefties who faced Atlanta recently. Ryu had 6, or Robbie Ray had 10, Madison Bumgarner had 7. It's a little bit of a worry that it's a road game, but Peterson has made a bunch of road starts, had a really good road start against the Phillies earlier in the season. So to me, at 5.5, in some places it's close to even money, -105. I'll take a shot with David Peterson over 5.5 strikeouts against the Braves this afternoon or this evening.
Yeah, nice, Matt. And Matt, just a quick question here, because I know some of the watchers out there don't bet K-props all that much. It's kind of a new market, to tell you the truth. Is there certain books that you recommend people go kind of check out to find these?
I would say FanDuel's the worst for K-props. All FanDuel does, for the most part, is raise the K-prop that everybody else has in the market, one, and then puts a massive plus price on it. So there's not really value on FanDuel. I would say DraftKings does a good job. I would say BetMGM does a really good job when it comes to K-props. You can find it everywhere. Pinnacle has it, obviously, if there's anybody not watching in the United States. But it's a market that you definitely should shop around. The juice is different. The strikeout numbers are different. So make sure to give yourself as many different options, because you can shop around and find even a 1 strikeout difference depending upon the book.
All right, good stuff from Mid-Major Matt. Check him out, sportsmemo.com. He's got his play up here late night. And Tony Finn, experts page at WagerTalk.com. Guys, thanks for joining us. As always, we got same time, same place tomorrow. For Mid-Major Matt, Tony Finn, huge shout out to the chat box. Thanks for joining us all. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk tomorrow. Same time, same place, guys.
Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers